I think one of the biggest reasons why there is a job scarcity situation occurring in the West at the moment is because too many people do not know who they are. And that might sound a little bit black and white, cut and dry, but I'm saying this because recently I came across another statistic. This one came off Google this time. 220 million people, upwards of that number, are actively searching for work on LinkedIn. And I mean, that's one professional networking website to help people get jobs. That is an alarming amount of people. And that tells me that the system itself is failing them. It's failing them because people have been conditioned to believe that following the rules of going through the public education system, going through post-secondary education, possibly taking it further with a master's degree or a PhD, was the way to a secure financial future. And that would have come from getting a job. There would have been job availability. You would have gotten a job, worked it, and been able to exist soundly and securely within your Western nation within which you dwell. Now, I live in Canada, and I can tell you that there is a job scarcity epidemic, and it's bad. It's very bad. It's so bad, especially in the major cities, that food banks are starting to run dry. I mean, if there wasn't an indicator of unsustainability, that is the one. That's the big one. Because when food runs out, people are gonna do things that we'd rather not talk about here. It's gonna get out of control, and that needs to be prevented. Unless that is something that is being deliberately, manufactured to happen. I can't speak on that. I don't know for certain, but it almost seems that way when politicians are ignoring these very obvious, very evident warning signs that a fix needs to take place. A remedy for these situations needs to occur. Now, we might be past the point of being proactive in dealing with this problem, but I can say that, the solution is not, it's actually not to go out there and quest for jobs that simply don't exist anymore. I think the solution is to turn the entire system upside down and have people seeking knowledge of who they are inwardly instead of seeking knowledge outwardly. We spend way too much time training people here in the West, here in Canada. I live in Canada, and I can tell you from my experience in the public education system that it was all about conditioning young minds to be perfect subservient worker bees. And that just isn't the fix anymore. It just doesn't work because there aren't enough jobs for all of these people who are depending on jobs to be there when they graduate from school. The solution, or at least a proactive solution moving forwards, would be to spend time focusing on each individual person and having them learn who they are, to harness their natural talents, gifts, strengths, abilities, so that they can make better decisions for themselves in either choosing a career, not even choosing a career, but building a career, using those talents, those abilities, so that they can generate an income for themselves. And this might be going against the entire structure itself because, independent thinkers, independent people in general who are able to generate their own income are going to quickly find out that the system is it's not working in their favor. Just look at the tax rates here in Canada. It is absolutely insane, and it's only getting worse. And when things like that get worse, it very quickly lends itself, in my mind, to being, again, I use this term manufactured. It all seems very deliberate. Like things are being deliberately made worse. But it could, at the same time, very well be the case that, everybody's in such a rut that it's just the culmination of all of this confusion and fear and, just poor decision making. People obviously make poor decisions when they're under duress, when they're in a fearful state of mind. And it's just mounting and mounting. And this whole thing with the food banks, to me, it's a very definitive indicator that we've got problems. We've got problems that need to be remedied. And we could fix this now if schools especially started focusing, instead of, we have class. I remember in grade 10, we had a class on civics. We had a civics class. It was only half a semester, but we got a taste of the goings on of politics and the way the government functioned. And honestly, now thinking back, I think the second half of the semester was about career aspirations and trying to figure out what you might be best at, given your, the talents you were aware of at the time. But in grade 10, you're still learning who you are. You're just, it's so rudimentary. Your understanding, I would argue that it's kind of it's a little bit early to be thinking about those things. But at the same time, it's never early enough. I think the entire educational system should be retailored, retooled in a way that really, again, it focuses on students learning about who they are inside. Because, think of how the sheer amount of people out there who just dislike their work, their careers, their jobs, and it's drudgery, dragging yourself every day into that job just because you need money to exist in a system that really, at this point is showing people that it doesn't even want them to exist. It's hellish. It's horrible. And considering the potential of every human being, the potential of our minds to generate incredible things, to invent things, to create, to imagine, to believe, and all of that gets kind of pushed to the wayside when you have to get up and you have to grind some shitty job just to pay your bills. That is not using your potential at its fullest. And I would argue that upwards of 90% of people are just not using their potential to its fullest. But I think we're entering a period where people in general just aren't really going to have a choice not to, because society is just not going to be able to take care of them anymore. It's such a peculiar place in time that we're entering here. And, I really do feel that even people that are kind of locked into the matrix, we could say, I know that term has been overused and it is kind of cliche, but it does illustrate the system and how much of a grasp it has over your consciousness and not just your physical being, because a lot of people still believe in this system. And that is where we go wrong initially. We believe in the system and that it's going to always be there and it's always going to be able to help us and take care of us and provide for us, even these jobs that aren't there. But it's the wrong way to think moving forwards. That entire schema, that entire paradigm needs to shift. It needs to change so that we can evolve out of this. It's becoming a mess. It's just a disaster. But we need to change how we think so we can move forwards, because right now it's just not working. So I hope all of you out there spend a bit of time, just spend 5 minutes, maybe even a day, just thinking about what you really want out of this life. And most importantly, what are your talents? Write them down. No matter what job you're doing something very proficiently at that job, and you can use those skills in so many different ways, and you can build off of them. I wish for every one of you out there to figure out what your talents are. I'm going to make a follow-up video on this one, because once you realize what your talent is, it's actually easier said than done, I'd say, in some ways. Questing for your talent is one thing. Questing for a job is one thing, but looking for that talent you have, that innate talent within you, once you know how to look for it, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to find. So I'm going to make a video following up on this one with that information. But I'm going to end it here. I hope all of you have a fantastic day. Be well, be safe, take care, and stay positive. This is how we get out of this, and this is how we move forwards. All right, friends, you guys have a great one. I'll catch you in another video. Take care.